Hello and welcome back to BigGeek MiniGeek. This is BigGeek here. I wanted to do another video where we continue talking one of my how-to videos on how to effectively run a game for kids. Now, the last time we talked, it was about how to use Dungeons & Dragons as a teaching tool, which I want to add to some of that, and this video is more about just some quick tips on what I use and what I think other parents and DMs can use to help run their campaign smoothly and efficiently. So one of the things I think that's really important with kids is you need to keep an open mind to the idea of improv. Kids are going to come up with all kinds of ideas as they go on an adventure. You want to have your outline that you're sticking to for the most part, but you want to give a lot of space in there for imaginative stuff. And we talked about that last time. Now, how to do that, you want to give boundaries that are not too narrow, and at the same time allow for enough imagination. So one of the ways that I do this is I have some of these books called, they're made by, here, I'll pick out the first one here. Sly Flourishes, The Lazy Dungeon Master. Now, the first two books that I'm going to show you are, it's that one, and then Sly Flourishes, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. These are great books to have for building your game and figuring out what you want to put into it and just making that outline. It gives a lot of tools and tips on making NPCs. Some of the things it talks about is coming up with some basic NPC stat lines and then reskinning them, using them again for different NPCs. That way you can save yourself some time. Now, the first two books are really about creating your game and as if you have nothing. So in the game that I'm running, I'm actually using Curse of Strahd, and I'm using Curse of Strahd in a sort of outline way. I mean, the adventure is already written similar to that. It has some descriptions that I'm using, but I'm drawing from other things as well. I allow the kids to come up with ideas or see where they're going, where their thought process is, and when they start to explore something, I let them do that. An example of this might be where in one scene from last time we sat and played, the kids explored a cellar. Now, in the actual module, there's a cellar and that's it. There's nothing more advanced than that. I have created an entire network of tunnels and effectively a small mini dungeon and then a side quest that's going in there because they got so curious about it and they're going down, and I've sort of led them on this, and it's all tying back to the story in the main campaign because I'm creating some characters to go along with that, but I'm letting them kind of guide where we go rather than forcing them to just go, okay, there's nothing in the cellar, now move on. Okay, so one of the ways that I have made this a little bit easier for myself to do is by using this other book, also, Sly Flourishes, The Lazy DMS Workbook. Now, what makes this one a little different is it's not about building a campaign. This is it's an entire book of charts and tables and maps. It's just useful tools to have that are kind of sitting behind my DM screen. As an example, when characters encounter, or when the players encounter an NPC, and they want to talk to this NPC, and there's nothing developed in the story. I don't have anything developed. I haven't picked anything out. What I do, I'll go to the fantasy name chart. See, there's a huge block of names, and I just point to one. I go, Helvina. This character's name is Helvina. And then I go with it. I figure out what Helvina's going to be like, kind of on the spot. It's really improv. There's tons of other things in here, though. If you can't think of a set of items that they open a chest, I don't know. Some of that stuff is also in the DM's guide as well, but this you know, for example, random items, and they have all these charts. They say, okay, so it's an orcish, there's a condition chart here, and then you can pick from one of these items or roll, leather, chainmail, plate mail, something like that. You've got random town events. So if they're walking into a town that you don't have anything really developed on, don't just make it boring. Like, okay, there are people just walking. Use this. Say like, okay, so they're planning a wedding, they're planning a funeral, there's an execution going on, there's, they're burning an effigy because they're upset at the Lord. A robbery is happening, a brawl, a circus, any number of things are here, right? And then they have, you can't figure out what, you want some tips on like, what's the general feel of the town? Are they happy, frightened, horrified, concerned, etc.? All of these things are here. And they're not meant for you to kind of pigeonhole something. It's just so that you can have some ideas to give each place and each person more character. And then the other part that I tend to use out of this particular book is they have this whole section called Lazy Layers. I like this because it has one-off maps. They go in somewhere. So, for example, with that cellar that turned into effectively a whole set of tunnels, you can flip through here and go, okay, well, I want some sewers, or I need a sewer map. I need a catacombs. We've got caves, cellars. Perfect. There's a whole bunch of cellars that are connected. Boom. You got tons of stuff in here. A whole dungeon, a mines, temple map, etc. I'm also going to say a lot of these things you can probably find online. I'm not just trying to plug this book. It's just one book that I really enjoy having behind my DM screen because for me, it's easy to flip through. Now, some people like to have stuff that's on a tablet or they use a laptop. If you want digital media and you want to use that stuff online, that's totally fine too. My advice is, though, having something like this that you can flip through. I find that this book is, I think I got it for, it was around 10 or 12 bucks on Amazon. This has been one of the most worthwhile purchases for my DM, or my Dungeons & Dragons game that I'm running with kids. The other thing I'm going to say is this is just for random encounters or for things that you haven't planned, any encounter you haven't planned with a monster. Wizards of the Coast makes a whole set of cards. Now, you can obviously use the the monster manual, and flip through it, look up monsters as you need to. That just takes extra time. If you know they're going into an area, so say, Curse of Strahd, it's going to have undead, right? So these cards, they have a picture of what it is, so you can kind of show them, this is what's coming at you. This is obviously a zombie. And then on the back of the card, it has some quick reference stats for you as the game master to look at. All right, and then you can make marks. The next to that, use that. Then you have your little piece of paper for the number of zombies, or if you want to make any modifications to those stats. But it's a quick reference, and there's a whole bunch. It's a whole monster pack, and I believe there's one pack that goes through levels 1 through 5. And then there's another one that goes 6 through 20. So most of these are all the level 1 through 5 ones. Ghouls and ghasts. Crawling Claw, which this turned into a whole plot element that we're running with in our campaign. And then they've got some of these larger, more beefy monsters here. Mummy, it's on larger cards. Tells, again, all of their special abilities are right there. It's just an extra set of tools that you can use. If I have this stack, I pull aside basically all of the lower level undead stuff, and I have that sitting behind my screen alongside my workbook, my dice, my outline, and that way it's easy to access. See, especially when you're talking about dungeon mastering for kids, you don't want them sitting there for long periods of time doing this. Hold on, guys, just a second, and then spend the next 10 minutes flipping through books, even if you're looking things up. Flip, 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 flip. It takes about 60 seconds before, especially with kids, they're going to start going, I'm bored, I'm going to be rolling dice. Now they're under the table. They're all over the place. All of these tools, they make that, it's still going to happen with kids, but they make it less likely to happen if you're able to keep the action going. And that's the name of the game for Dungeons & Dragons, running it with kids. All right, so that's our end of our next how-to video. Hopefully MiniGeek and I will be doing a review sometime soon. We did get to try out playing My Little Side, so I hope to have a review video up for that sometime soon. All right, thanks for watching.